It's time to sit back, relax, and listen to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life will inspire, motivate, and empower you. Live your best life now. Listen, learn, think, and decide. Change your attitude, change your life. And now, here's your host, Joan Herman.
Welcome to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. You're listening to us in your neighborhood from coast to coast and around the world. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Joan Herman, author, speaker, and your host. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life brings you interviews with some of the most inspirational and influential people in the world. It's our goal to educate and empower you so you can live your best life now. Thank you for taking time for yourself, and thank you for letting us be a part of your life. We have another great show for you today. Today's guest, Jean Teachman, thought she had lost everything when her 37-year-old son, Forrest, committed suicide. After his death, Jean experienced tremendous guilt and grief. Life had taken its toll, and with nothing more to lose, she embarked on the long road to healing. Jean is here to talk about her journey from tragedy to peace and acceptance. Jean is the author of the book, Never Saying Goodbye. Welcome, Jean. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Joan, for asking me.
You know, Jean, when I heard your story, I'm the mother of two sons, so I can't even imagine the pain that you experienced from losing a child. Tell us about your son, Forrest. What was he like?
He was very bright, very personable, good values. When he was young, there was no idea that there was a disease waiting in the wings to attack, none at all. When he was in ninth grade, it happened to him. I'm not sure really how it happened. I don't know. I have an idea. He was in a dorm with older boys at school, and I think they smoke pot. Bipolar is genetic. There's some kind of a stress that brings it on. I feel that was it. And he didn't change drastically at that point. He was frightened. We knew something was going on. We took him to a doctor. At that time, very little was known about bipolar, so he was misdiagnosed and put on the wrong medication. And then the long, long journey started of helping him, hoping that he got better, and what he went through. He got into the drug culture heavily, and that is very normal for bipolars for that to happen. I really didn't, I probably was hiding the fact. I really didn't face it. And there were times that he went to college and he was fine for a while, and it would come and go. And finally it was just too much for him. I never thought this would happen. I never thought he would take his own life, but he did, and it's the worst nightmare that any parent can go through. I knew I had to take some kind of a path. I couldn't even do it for a year because I really essentially lost my own bearing in life at that time. Contemplated suicide, but just momentarily. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that to my family, but it certainly entered my mind because it was so much pain. He wouldn't have caused this pain if he had known that he was causing it. But people who are suicidal, they see this from PET scans of the brain, that they are tunnel visioned and they don't think of any pain that they're causing anyone else. I, through my pain, then went on a different journey. And ultimately, I consider my son Forrest my teacher.
What was the turning point when you realized that you had to move on and heal?
It was 8 or 9 months later, and I had two things in life that I really believed in. You can do it if you want to, and when there's life, there's hope. And both of those were taken away. And I thought I have nothing to replace it with. And the days were very dark, and they were very dismal. I had great trouble going out and seeing anyone. I clung to things of Forrest. And after about 9 months, I thought, I can either stay here and live like this forever, or I take a new path and go forward. And it was we had joined this mental health organization That certainly was a part of it. I went to suicide group and listened to the stories of other mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters who had gone through this. And I just knew that I had to go forward and change my thinking, or I'd be lost. And I wouldn't, my daughter, I wouldn't be a good mother to her. I wouldn't be a good wife. By good, I mean helpful, because I was so mired in myself and what I was going through. So I decided, not as though it was a big epiphany right then, but that I had to go a different way.
So, what did you learn through this healing journey? What strategies and information can you share with our listeners who may be going through their own tragic experience at this point in life?
That one can get through it. One can decide which path they're going to take. My purpose in writing my book was to help people exactly going through these things, because when it happened to me, to our family, I really couldn't find much to read or anything to grab onto, and so that's what I wanted to do. I'd like to, Forrest, I went to healers. I had great healers, Dr. George Goodhart and Dr. John Upledger, and Renata Moore, who was an intuitive counselor. And I talked to the other side through her. And I'm such a doubting Thomas that I doubted it for the longest time. I learned that. I remember one day I was looking at little cups, in the bathroom to drink out of, and there was a bluebird on one. And I thought, I love bluebirds. And I went to see Renata that day, and after sitting down in a moment or so, she said, "What do bluebirds mean to you?" And I said, "Nothing." She said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yeah, nothing." And she said, "Well, Forrest says, I love bluebirds too, Mom." And she said, "He's telling you this because you doubt so." And that was really a big turning point for me. So I learned that. I learned that how to live differently, how to live peacefully, to find peace through these various modalities, steps to attain happiness and live harmoniously. They're in two parts. One is attainment of true happiness. One, peace with oneself and the world. 2, to be content with the past. 3, thankful for the present. 4, patience for the future and expectant toward all that it promises. To live this is to live harmoniously. Secret of harmony. 1, be willing to have an uncluttered mind. 2, be willing to be taught. 3, be willing to forgive. And I found the second, be willing to be taught, really powerful, because we're always told, learn, and you learn things. But be willing to be taught, to me, it puts it in a whole different light. I learned, and I have this in my book, what I learned about choices and change your attitude. That's so apropos, because it does change your life, change your perceptions, how you look at things. It changes relationships, acceptance, which is the ultimate, really, of it all. So I learned how to live differently, to look at life differently. And it brought me, what I did learn, and I'm still learning, is serenity, peacefulness, and happiness, acceptance.
Mary Jean, from the wisdom that you've acquired from this journey, what would you say to a survivor whose family member killed him or herself and is living with that guilt that you know so well? What would you say to that person to help them move forward and release that guilt?
That is so tough. That is one of the toughest, because, first of all, they probably feel, as I did, that I could have done something without question. I, as a mother, after all, a mother's powerful. She knows her children, and she can do something. But one can't, because of the physical evidence that the mind is in a certain place at that time, that it is inevitable that it would happen. So it is so hard to get rid of the guilt, but part of getting rid of the guilt is realizing they couldn't have done anything. And it took me a long time to realize that. When I went to group therapy for suicide, I thought, that is impossible. What they're saying just simply is not true. I can't accept it. It does take time to do that, but their child, their loved one, is on a journey that is theirs, and they can't feel guilty because they couldn't have altered that. Maybe temporarily, it does happen that if someone takes pills and then it's averted, but generally they will try again. And Forrest did it with a gun, and when they do it with a gun, that that is the end result that they want. But the guilt is a tough thing to work on. And it's going to therapy, it's going to suicide groups, it's telling oneself they are not guilty, they did not really have anything to do with this, that was their choice at the moment, for whatever reason that it happened.
And I think, when suicide is involved, sometimes people feel this shame and they don't reach out for the help that you're recommending. So it's very important that you go outside yourself and you get the help from experts and supportive friends, loved ones, groups, whatever's available. Mary Jean, from what you've learned, do you believe that we as a country are putting enough emphasis on mental health issues?
Not at all.
What
No.
needs to be done?
I think that there has to be recognition that, first of all, it's a physical disease. It deals with an organ called the brain. And that organ is no different than the other organs in the body. So I think that and there is talk in the community now about changing the rhetoric about these brain diseases, because there is such a stigma attached with mental disease that people want to run in the other direction. And that's one of the problems. I was president of MIRA, Mental Health Research Association, for 3 years. We got involved in it. That was another helping tool to get involved with that, to try and help prevent any other family from going through what we had gone through. And the first thing that I said before I became president, I wouldn't accept it if we continued to call these mental illnesses, mental diseases, but in particular mental illness, because people run from it. They're frightened. They don't understand that there is less, percentage-wise, people who have these brain diseases who do violent acts than the general population, and that's percentage-wise. But they don't understand that there's so much in the media that now it's starting to change a bit. It's coming out more. When this happened with Forrest, it was absolutely nothing. Many people on the street have brain diseases, and that has to be corrected. There has to be an acceptance that it's no different than somebody who has sugar diabetes. If they don't get their medication and you have them go on a 10-mile run, they're going to die. They can't survive that. Also, with brain diseases, they can be balanced with medication, and this is what has to get out there. But I think we must take away the stigma. My husband has a program in over 800 schools in the state of Michigan, and it deals with taking away the stigma. You have to remove the stigma. There are people who don't even want to donate to these organizations that deal with brain diseases because they feel a stigma with it. So I would say first and foremost that the stigma, to work on taking away the stigma, and there are some organizations doing this, but we have to be more diligent. It's a very slow process. We've learned more about the brain in the last 20 years than we did in the previous 200 years. So this is all in its infancy, essentially.
The book is Never Saying Goodbye by Mary Jean Teachman. You can visit her website, maryjeanteachman.com. Mary Jean, thank you so much for spending time with us today and for giving a voice to this important topic. I can only imagine how difficult it must be for you to talk about this, and it's just wonderful that you're keeping Forrest's spirit alive through your work and touching so many lives, so thank you.
Well, thank you, Joan, and thank you for what you're doing. I'm honored to be on the program.
We'll be right back. Hi, this is Joan Herman, host of Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Did you know that Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life has a free monthly digital magazine that can be read online or emailed to your inbox? Every month, nationally recognized leaders in their field provide information to educate, inspire, and motivate you. We believe in a holistic approach to life, incorporating mind, body, and spirit. Check out a copy of Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life 24/7 Visit cyacyl.com and be sure to tell your friends. Thank you for joining us today. We hope you found the show informative. At Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life, we believe that knowledge is power. Take what you've learned, apply it, and live your best life now. Remember that the information provided are the opinions of our guests and should never replace the advice of a professional who knows your personal situation. If you'd like more information, visit our website, cyacyl.com. That stands for Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. While on the site, listen to past shows on demand, read the digital magazine, take part in the book club, and be sure to follow the show on Facebook and Twitter. Until next time, this is Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in.